Next we'll talk about lists. So you may be familiar with lists. A list is a variable that can hold multiple items. So you can have a variable x which contains a lot of items. And you'll see I'm using these braces which indicates to Python that we have a list. We can output x and you'll see we have a collection. This works for any type of data. So we can have a list of names. And you can output that list. So a single variable can be of the type list. So we can request the type. You'll see list. And a list is a sequence, so it can contain more than one item. And it's mutable, so this means you can change the values. So we have the list names. We can say add a new item by typing your list name dot append and then your value. Now if we request the list variable or the variable names, you'll see it has been added to the end. You can add another name and you'll see it added that variable to the end. So you can use the function .append with your as parameter whatever you want to add, and it adds it to the end of the list. Now you can also insert anywhere you want. So if you say name.insert, then the position you want to insert. Now remember, Python starts counting from 0. So from the 0th position, let's add another name. And then we request names. You'll see now it has been added at the front because we added at the 0th position, which is the first position. So this is the first position and it added right in front of it. Now if you were to add something again, so names.insert 0th position, request names, you'll see it added to the front again. Now you can insert anywhere you want, so you don't have to insert specifically at the first position. It can be anywhere in the list. So let's say the 5th position and add another name. You'll see now at the 5th position it has been inserted. Now this works for any type of list. So now we have a list of strings, but if you have a numerical list, that also works. So you can have a numerical list, and don't forget these braces, otherwise Python doesn't know it's a list. You can always be sure, because Python will throw an error, and you can request a type which should return list. So you can say names.append and we add to the end. So if we request names, you'll see we added to the wrong list. What we wanted to do is nums, and then nums.append 7, and we can add another number, and you'll see those numbers have been added to the end of the list. So you can do that with any type of list, and the list can contain different data types, as you may have observed. So you can have a list which contains numbers, but also textual or string values. And Python is perfectly fine with that. So a list can contain different types of data. It also can contain floating point numbers. So you'll see different types of data can be inside a list. Now it's very nice that we can define a list. But what about removing items from a list? To remove an item, you can use the .pop function, and that returns the last item, and it also removes it from the list. So if we call it again, you see it removed the last item, it outputs that, and it's been removed. Now if you have a list, you can also search for something specific. So you can say a.remove and then the element you want to remove. So let's say I want to remove number 2 and then request a. You see number 2 has been removed. Or if I want to remove number 3. Now remember I had another list with names. So let's remove some names. And request it. You'll see now those names have been removed from the list.